Aside from being a native English speaker, why the hell should anyone take the risk and hire you? Sure, you've probably got more or less your academic experience down, and the question then becomes, do you have any real-world experience? Can you handle a classroom full of students? Or if you get in front of a class, will you just freeze, not knowing what to do? Do you have any teaching experience at all that you can list on a resume? If not, fear not. This week's episode is going to be all about building up your experience and thereby building up your resume. I'm Teacher David, and this is TESL for Newbies. So you're an aspiring ESL teacher, but your resume is as empty as the typical university student's wallet. So what can you do? Well, perhaps surprisingly, the answer is as easy as it is obvious. Get some practical real-world experience to start to build up or bulk up your anemic resume. So in this week's episode, step 4 of the series, I'll discuss 2 quick, surefire ways to gain real-world experience that you can use on your resume. I'll also include 2 further, slightly more difficult ways that you can also try to do to build up your resume with some real-world experience. And at the end of the episode, I'll suggest a couple user-friendly programs that I've used in the past that I think that can help you create a professional, really solid-looking resume that you can use with all your new experiences listed on it. And I'll include at the very end a final suggestion that I think will make any person's teaching resume, or any resume for that matter, shine. So, first and foremost, start volunteering. Anywhere teaching related. Many public schools, for example, have ESL programs included in them. This is ESL programs for newcomers to the country. This is a great way to get some teaching experience as a tutor. My high school had an entire ESL department for newcomers to Canada. I volunteered there in order to gain some real-world experience tutoring. It was a great learning experience for the students, of course, but it was even better, I think, for me. It showed me all of my weaknesses and taught me how to improve myself over time, gradually, to become a better tutor. Additionally, if that's not available to you, you can check local listings or websites, such as Facebook, for tutoring opportunities. Nowadays, you can even tutor online. You can volunteer to tutor online. In my opinion, I believe volunteer tutoring, or volunteering in general, looks great on a resume. In my past, people have mentioned my volunteer activities, highlighted them, and in effect hired me because of them, even though my resume otherwise was kind of weak. Okay, after you've tutored for a while on a volunteer basis, and you've gotten more comfortable, relatively speaking, you can start getting paid for your time and your effort. My first tutoring job was during university. I placed posters around the school that I had printed out, offered contextual analysis and proofreading to philosophy students. Now, I know that's not ESL, but it was a way for me to get my feet wet, so to speak, in an area that I was comfortable with. And I was only asking $10 an hour. I even had one student say to me that he almost didn't call me because my price was so low that he thought it couldn't be real or that I wouldn't know what I was talking about. And like I said, even though this wasn't ESL, it still looked good on my resume for my first job. So after that job, I got then another job with a local school tutoring ESL students. But this time it was a paid gig, not a volunteer job. And it was much better pay than my $10 an hour, and it also looked great on my resume because now I was teaching for a school. I wasn't a teacher, but I was tutoring for a school. After all of the above, I thought it was time, I thought I was ready to get some real world experience in a classroom in a local cram school that catered to exchange students, so ESL students. So I went in for an interview. We discussed my job experience, my future goals. Everything was great. Then I was asked to write a test, a grammar and writing test. During that test, I had to circle nouns, verbs, adverbs, adjectives, etc. Not so bad, but then I had to start to underline topic and detail sentences in paragraphs. I had to explain connections between paragraphs. I had to do compound, complex sentences. Needless to say, I failed completely. My arrogance from studying philosophy for so long and writing an endless amount of essays tricked me into believing that I could teach ESL, that I was prepared. I could not. I ended up walking out of that interview. I left the paper on the desk, just got up, walked out, more like skulked out, and just came to a new, profound understanding of just how limited my ability to teach the language was. I could use the language, sure. I had no problem writing an essay, but I couldn't explain why I could write an essay. I couldn't explain the nuts and bolts of English to somebody else. I just did it naturally, which comes from reading and writing and practice. So that gave me, that humiliation inspired me, what has now been a lifelong journey of learning as much as possible about grammar and writing. For example, after that experience, I went to Seoul, South Korea, my first job overseas. While there, my boss, my director, and then the owner of the school recognized that I had a very solid grasp of writing and grammar. So they asked me to become the writing and grammar specialist teacher at the school. And this wasn't a one-off. This has happened again and again for me just because I started to learn about it. I found out that I loved learning about it. I really enjoyed it. And I started to specialize in those two areas. And so whenever I go to a school, somebody has a grammar question, somebody has a writing question, they can feel free to come ask me, and I'm there. And in a later episode, I'm going to suggest that you too should find a specialty, something that you're really good at when teaching ESL, and you become that person that the school asks when they have a question in that area. Now that you have all this experience, or once you have all this experience, you got to make a resume so you can start submitting that to companies overseas if that in fact is your goal. And if you're watching this channel, I'm assuming that is your goal, to become an ESL teacher overseas. So what I suggest is make your resume as beautiful and professional looking as possible. So there's two programs that I've used in the past to help me make a great looking resume. First one is Microsoft Word, the obvious choice. Now, the pros of Microsoft Word is there are a large number of resume and CV templates, if you want to do a CV, that are available with the program. The con is the program. You have to buy either the one-time program, which is not inexpensive, or you have to buy the online 365 subscription, which you have to pay annually. Now, I think there might still be an online free program out there, but from what I remember, it's very limited. You're better off just buying the one-time program. A second choice is Canva. Canva, I found to be a great tool. Now, it again has a pro and a free and a paid version. The pro is the free version allows you to limited but a reasonable access to many templates, different kinds of templates, resumes, down the road if you want to do Facebook banner, YouTube banners, something like this. They have a lot of free resources available on there. A con is you have to pay if you want full access. And full access is substantially better than the free limited access. But even so, the limited access is still quite good. Now, there are many other programs available out there, of course. These are just two that I have used in my own life, and I'm not paid to recommend them. I'm just saying I've used them and they've worked. And just on a side note, when I said a beautiful resume, that doesn't mean you should put flowers and all kinds of sparklies on it. It just means when you pick up the resume, as I've done when I've interviewed people, I pick it up, I look at the resume. Is it logically laid out? Is it clear? Does it have an academic section, an experience section, a volunteer section, a resume reference section? Beauty in this case is beauty of layout. Make sure it looks clear and it's easy for the reader. Otherwise, it just looks like a blob on the page. And to be honest, somebody's just going to throw it out. They're not going to bother to waste their time on it. That brings us nicely to the last section, to the final tips I want to suggest. What I want you to do is collect as many references as you can, as humanly possible. Just every time you work for somebody, anytime you work with somebody, just keep collecting references, and try to get them in a Word document or something similar to that, not just an email, which looks kind of ugly. If you do get an email, just copy the body of it over and make it into a Word document yourself. Again, in Word or Canva, there are lots of resources you can use that will help you to make a reference, a kind of reference documents that you can use. Then some areas you can look into are academic references. Ask professors, teachers, tutors, classmates. Employment references. Ask principals if you work at a school, coworkers, volunteer positions that you've been in, even parents. If you have a tutor, if you're tutoring somebody, if you have a student that you tutor, ask the parent for a reference. If you're in a club, ask the club directors, ask supervisors, coaches, other club members. Try to get some references, as many as possible. Then, at first, use what you have. Try to pick the best through the ones that you've gathered. And then over time, weed out the weaker ones and replace them with stronger ones. So that way you've built up, over time, 3 or 4 really solid references for your resume. And don't forget, when they give you a reference, make sure there is some kind of email address or phone number or something, so that way the prospective employer can contact them. If there's nothing on there, it's not a reference. If there's no way to be contacted, it's not a reference. It's just garbage. So, in conclusion, be as ready as possible before you head overseas to teach a room full of students who may or may not even want to be in the classroom. And if you take nothing else from this series, take this little bit of advice. Don't let your first experience at the front of a class happen while you're overseas in your first job. While you're at your first job, you're dealing with getting used to local norms and customs. And if you're also learning how to teach at the same time, it's going to overwhelm you. You could end up hating the job, hating the students, and hating the country. And it's actually just because you were poorly prepared. So don't let inexperience and poor preparation taint what could otherwise be an experience of a lifetime. All right then. So coming up next week in step 5, I'll be discussing some obvious and some not so obvious ways for you to get prepared for your first journey overseas. Now, this doesn't mean academically prepared or practically prepared. This means actually just getting ready to go overseas. There are a few things that you need to think about ahead of time, and I'm going to help you to know what those things are. And I want to do something a little bit different this week. I just want to sign off by thanking all of you who've been watching this series regularly, commenting, liking, and subscribing, especially to my regular watchers and subscribers who've been leaving me some great comments, some great criticisms, and some just kindness. I genuinely appreciate it. I thank you, and I hope that I've been of some help to those of you who are, in fact, TESL newbies, who are planning to go overseas, and if not helpful, at least mildly interesting.